Today we're taking a look at these NBA matches, which are happening on Wednesday, April 26, 2023, and giving you our team and total picks for today. Welcome back to High Stakes. Before we dive into our video, don't forget to subscribe and to push the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Also check out our Patreon if you want access to our premium picks. Our Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money, and if you are interested in props and parlay picks, check out our new channel High Stakes Props and Parlays, where you can find our player props and parlay picks predictions. You will find the link to our Patreon and to our new channel in the description and comments section below. New York Knicks vs Cleveland Cavaliers. The Knicks took care of business at home against the Cavs, winning both games to seize a commanding 3-1 lead in the series. The Knicks hope to become the first lower-seeded team to secure a berth in the next round of the playoffs if they can steal another one in Cleveland. Once again, the Knicks' defense held strong and limited Cleveland to just 93 points in Game 4. On the series, the Knicks have been allowing just 94 points per game, a stellar result by any measure, and nearly 20 points per game below the 113 ppg they allowed in the regular season. The Cavaliers are reeling right now, but they have a chance to right the ship a bit at home. Needing to win 3 games in a row after faltering early in this series, we will see if they have what it takes. Cleveland kept the lineup change they made in Game 3, starting Caris LeVert over Isaac Okoro in Game 4, but the Knicks won again, so it will be interesting to see if Cleveland keeps the same lineup out there in Game 5 or makes another change. After struggling for the first 3 games, Darius Garland finally came to life in Game 4, scoring a team-high 23 points and 10 assists on efficient shooting from the field, but it wasn't enough, as Donovan Mitchell had his worst shooting night in ages, going just 5 for 18 from the field. Mitchell had been playing well in this series up until this point, while Garland hadn't, so if they can both put it together at the same time they should have a good chance. While I think the Cavaliers may hold on to force a Game 6, I've got the Knicks plus 5.5 in this one. The Knicks have looked like the better team throughout this series, and while going back to Cleveland is certainly a benefit for the Cavs, the Knicks clearly aren't afraid of the moment, having already taken 1 game back in Cleveland. The Knicks also had one of the best road records in the NBA this year at 24-17. With Brunson finding his 3-point stroke again and the move to insert Josh Hart into the starting lineup, the Knicks will at the very least keep this game close and bring it down to the wire, if not finish the series outright. Take the Knicks plus 5.5 points. I'm taking under 202.5 points in this one. 202.5 as a total in today's NBA is shockingly low, but this series has been a defensive slugfest so far. While the playoffs are often scrappier defensive struggles, this one is taking it to the max. Not one of the 4 games has eclipsed 198 points so far, let alone reaching 203, and there's no reason to expect Wednesday to be any different. Both teams are averaging below 100 points per game this series, and the Cavs became the first team all season long to fail to score 80 in Game 3. The Cavaliers had by far the NBA's best defense in the regular season, and they've been proving it here as well, not allowing more than 102 points in any game this series. Take the under. Los Angeles Lakers vs Memphis Grizzlies. The Lakers were able to protect their home court with dominance in Game 3 and a group effort in Game 4. LeBron gets the highlights with a late layup in regulation and the and one play in OT, but 6 different Lakers finished with at least 12 points in the win, and Jared Vanderbilt, 15, Austin Reeves, 23, and D'Angelo Russell, 17, all had more points than Anthony Davis, 12, did. Memphis has really started to come undone for a variety of reasons in this series, some self-inflicted, some not. Dillon Brooks didn't need to open up his mouth at all after just a single win, as his words filled the Lakers' bulletin board, but the Ja Morant injury on top of being without their 2 big guys up front has really started to expose the Grizzlies' weaknesses on offense. There were too many long lulls offensively in both games in LA, and now they've got the long task of winning 3 in a row to advance. Further evidence of Memphis apparently coming apart at the seams was Desmond Bane's post-game comments about their lack of game plan discipline on that game-tying layup by LeBron. Definitely not the time of the year to name names and throw guys directly under the bus, but Bane's comments threw everyone and no one specific under the bus at the same time. You don't typically see fracturing teams like the Grizzlies come back from 3-1 playoff deficits. The news isn't all bad for Memphis though, as they had numerous chances to win the Game 4 despite another slow start after stumbling out of the gates to a 35-9 first quarter deficit cost them Game 3. Memphis did outscore LA by 16 points in those final 3 quarters of Game 3 and did lead for the bulk of the second half in Game 4. They are back at home for Game 5 where the secondary scoring should find some rhythm, as a 36-7 SU home record this year doesn't just happen by accident when you've had the man games lost that this Grizzlies team has had. It's more of a question of whether or not the Grizzlies can keep it together above the shoulders if shots aren't falling again. However, even with the questions surrounding what Grizzlies team will show up, Game 5 is still a spot to back the number 2 seeded Grizzlies with their season on the line. The amazing Sioux record at home speaks to the Grizzlies likely rising up here for at least one more stand at home to get one more crack at knocking off the Lakers in their own building. Even with the hand issues, I don't expect Morant to struggle shooting the ball as he did in Game 4, 8 for 24, as he did get very predictable at times with his decisions to drive and continuously look for contract fouls. None of those really came from Morant in Game 4, but the NBA is renowned for home sides, generally getting a friendlier whistle in the playoffs, and that very well could be the case for Memphis in Game 5. After all, it's not like the league would oppose the added revenue they'd get from seeing a LeBron James team go 6 or 7 games in the first round. NBA teams that win outright are still on this phenomenal 80% plus run against a number as well, and this is a spot where I do believe we see this embattled number 2 seed rise up and play to their seeding level. Not sure we get that in Game 6 should there be one, but I expect there to be one after the Grizzlies win and cover the number in Game 5. Our team pick is Memphis minus 4.5 points. Game 4 was going under the total the entire way before OT was needed, and that's really the only side of any total I'm interested in playing in potential series closeout games, as long as it's not a potential sweep. For one, livelihoods and legacies are on the line, which always leads to willingness to play defense on every possession for every guy out there, and secondly, referees are generally more inclined to let things go and have the players decide things themselves. At least that's the hope with the referees. That series dynamic thrown on top of two very good defensive teams already confirms pulling the trigger on going under this total. Memphis and Los Angeles are currently in the top 10 in defensive efficiency, and it will be on that end of the floor that both sides expect to get the job done. We don't get an extra 5 minutes in Game 4, and that total lands well below the closing number, as 5 of the 16 quarters played in this series have also finished with less than 50 points. Memphis has no problem playing a physical style of game where the first to 100 wins, as the reigning defensive player of the year in Jaren Jackson Jr. will be doing everything he can to protect the rim and extend the Grizzlies season. Memphis is 13-20 OU this year when coming off a loss, as they know the blueprint for their success begins and ends with things on the defensive end. With their season on the line in Game 5, it will be that Grizzlies defense that leads the way in seeing this game finish under the total as well. Under 222 points. Miami Heat vs Milwaukee Bucks. There have only been 4 8 seeds in the NBA playoffs to advance past round 1, and the Miami Heat are one game away from joining that club. The Heat have battled through adversity after losing Tyler Herro for the series in Game 1 to a hand injury. Jimmy Butler had one of the best playoff performances of all time in Game 4, scoring 56 points and grabbing 9 rebounds in the win. The Milwaukee Bucks are the 1 seed in the East and were a popular pick to make the NBA Finals behind the play of a healthy Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Bucks are now 1 loss away from elimination after having to play multiple games without their star. Giannis was injured in Game 1 after taking a fall and landing on his back. He missed Games 2 and 3 before recording a triple-double with 26 points, 13 assists and 10 rebounds in the Game 4 loss. Milwaukee will bounce back strong here, but 11 points are far too many. The Heat are a strong defensive team, and Giannis has not looked like himself since he fell in Game 1. Jimmy Butler just played one of the best playoff games of all time and has this Miami team believing they can win this series as an 8 seed. Butler and Adebayo are the top scorers, but also willing passes, and Miami has enough shooters on the perimeter to keep this game close, even without Tyler Herro. Kevin Love, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Duncan Robinson, and Kyle Lowry are all skilled 3-point shooters and provide Miami with the spacing to allow Butler and Adebayo to operate inside. This number is too big. Miami won 3 out of the 4 games in this series, and it isn't because they got lucky. Take this big number in Game 5. Take the Heat plus the points. Every game in this series has gone over the total, and every total has been between 216 and 220.5. This game will follow the same formula, as both teams have players who can put pressure on the defense near the rim and space the floor for shooters. Giannis is always a downhill threat that must be respected. Miami has to build a wall defensively and limit his easy drives. This opens up spots for shooters. Miami has played similarly, as Milwaukee will likely adjust their defense in response to Jimmy Butler's 56-point performance. Both teams have been scoring well and hitting the over all series. This total was not raised enough, so we will back the over again. Take the over 219 points. Golden State Warriors vs Sacramento Kings. Over the playoffs, the Warriors are averaging 117.3 points per game, which puts them right on par for their second-ranked scoring offense during the regular season. However, in their 2 road games, that number has ticked down a bit to around 114 per contest. This is also no surprise as Golden State has been a much better home team than road team over the recent years. Of note has been their drop in shot attempts, as well as their three-point variance, which on the road sit 6% below their season average, despite taking more attempts. This disparity in field goal attempts has been led by the turnover catalyst, where the Warriors are giving it away 18.5 times per game away from home. Well, it should be taken with a grain of salt as the Warriors lost their first 2 road games to the Kings, but nearly every offensive metric lags on the road compared to at home. What sticks out the most is the turnover gap and the rebounding margin. On the road during the postseason, Golden State is grabbing, on average, 10 less boards per game. While it would seem the Warriors' defense has lagged, they have held the Kings below their season average in points on a per-game basis. More on the rebounding disparity, the Warriors have allowed the Kings to generate nearly 18 second chance points per game. This is not sustainable as they haven't been strong holding foes off the glass regularly this season. Golden State will need to value the basketball more on the road as they allowed the Kings to come away with an average of 10.5 steals per game over the first 2 road games of the series. The Kings have been hot at home during the postseason, averaging 120 points per game, which keeps them on pace with their league-leading point scoring during the regular season. Of note has been their regression in assist rate. And what has been a bit unexpected has been the Kings' improved ball distribution playing away from the house. At home, they're dishing it out 7 times less per game than they did during the regular season. That being said, they haven't turned the ball over more than average, but they have been coming away with more steals, which has allowed them to score over 15 points in transition per game. Where the Kings have been strong defensively has been holding down the low block and not allowing anything easy in the paint for Golden State. Arguably their best defensive stands have come in transition, as the Kings lead all postseason squads in fast break points allowed. If the Kings can continue to slow Golden State in the open court, they have a great shot at taking the series lead, Fox or no. Even if the Kings' leading scorer, Fox, isn't in the lineup, Sacramento has had a knack all season for generating points from several plays. Along with that, their home defense has continued to force turnovers and has stymied the Warriors in the open court while also racking up second chance points. Golden State has been too careless with the ball and has been turning it over nearly 20 times per game on the road, which has greatly reduced their shot volume. Further, the Warriors haven't been able to hold the Kings on the glass, and I expect the Kings to control the paint again here. Sacramento plus 4 points. Both of these squads sat atop the league in scoring during the regular season, but with a tie-break and series swing on the line, expect each defense to show up. And after seeing such a high-scoring affair in Game 4, it would make sense to expect points here. However, the Warriors haven't been the same team on the road, and the Kings have been reliant on their defense to step up and will do so again, as they'll need to execute at a high level with Fox's status in the air. The under is 4-1-1 in the last 6 meetings in Sacramento, expect that trend to continue. Under 232.5 points.